I think it's time that we should get started. Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning, good afternoon to all of you. My name is Praveen Joseph, and I work as a cybersecurity consultant, cybersecurity trainer with Ingram Micro. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Mr. Kumar Mariappan as well. We are very excited, very happy to introduce you to this particular session, where we are going to explain to you how you can construct cybersecurity solutions for different customer environments, customer network profiles. Just to quickly introduce the main speaker for today, Kumar is our senior cybersecurity solutions architect, and he's a very veteran expert in the field of cybersecurity. He's got experience developing and designing cybersecurity solutions for different kinds of customer environments, different sectors all over the region and globally as well. He's a CISSP, and I think more than 14 to 15 years of overall experience in cybersecurity, 15 plus years of cybersecurity overall experience. So I'm really excited to introduce Kumar and bring to you this beautiful session as well. So what is the main agenda that we've got planned for this particular session? We're going to start by a quick introduction to what the session itself is. I'll be covering this part, just giving you an overview about the session, and a quick look at the different kinds of customer networks, customer profiles. And from here, Kumar is going to take it away, and he's going to explain to us the different challenges that organizations face, as well as how we can design solutions when across different customer profiles and networks itself. The session is being recorded, and it will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel, which is cybersecurity, Ingram Micro Cybersecurity. If you just type these 4 words on YouTube, you'll find a suite of all the sessions that we have recorded, that we have delivered and recorded over the past few years. So with that introduction and context having been laid out, I'll also remind you, we want to make it as interactive as possible, as so that you can derive the maximum value from today's session. For this reason, we will be taking a Q&A session towards the end. We'll have a focused 5 to 10 minutes only on the questions and answers from your side. For this reason, please keep your questions coming in, type them into the chat window. I'm going to be consolidating all the questions, and towards the end, we're going to have them addressed by Kumar. Okay, so with this context, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump straight into the actual session for today. I want to start by giving you a little bit of introduction to the session and what are the objectives of today's session. Now, you are no stranger to the fact that your customers, your end customers, they have very complex internal environments and internal network architectures. Large organizations, they tend to have very dynamic environments internal to their IT infrastructure. And this means there is a lot of complexity in the way in which we have to analyze these networks. As we already very well know, just 1 or 2 small vulnerabilities are sufficient to in fact collapse an entire large organizational network itself. So the weakest link, of course, is the one which defines how strong an organization actually is. Now, when we're looking at these complex IT environments and IT networks, how do you ensure that cybersecurity solutions are also accounting for these different risks, these different weaknesses present across these networks? We need to have an end-to-end approach, an end-to-end view of the organization's network when we are developing the cybersecurity solutions for these networks. In so doing, when you as a business partner, as an Ingram Micro business partner, are approaching end customers, you will take on the shoes of a trusted advisory to the end customers. They will understand that you appreciate the complexities of their network, and they will actually start trusting you, taking you into the shoes of the trusted advisor. This will open the doors towards larger business opportunities. And I'm not just saying this as a concept. These are tried and tested methodologies. We have, in fact, as you'll see when Kumar is going to explain this to you, this is the approach that we are taking when we are selling cybersecurity solutions to customers. We don't just sell them out of the box solutions and say, here is antivirus, here is IPS, here is sandboxing solutions. No, what we do is we look at the customer's network as a whole, And then we take the advisory angle and develop solutions which secure the enterprise network as a whole itself. Can you go to the next slide, Kumar, please? Now, when we do this, it's not easy. When we approach the customer, we don't always, find the sales cycle is very straightforward or simple. And I'm sure you relate with this. Customers, they need to be convinced on the need to invest in cybersecurity. Very often, we come across three top responses when we try to talk about cybersecurity to a customer. The first response is that where the customer thinks, you know what, we are already fairly secure. Given our risk profile and our exposure, we have a sufficient amount of security and we don't really need to augment our security capabilities or defenses. The second possibility is that the end customer, they underestimate the likelihood of being attacked. Now, this is not usually seen within the smaller companies where they think that they are not on the radar of any cyber attacker or cyber criminal, and therefore they don't need to fear about being a target. Again, we've seen that this is not really true because even the small mom and pop shops have been targeted by ransomware attacks here in the country itself. The last one is where customers don't even know what they don't know. What I mean by this is there are gaps present in the environment, but they choose not to even investigate and find out what these gaps are. So these are the top three challenges that we face when we try to sell to the customers. Now from here, I will hand it over to Kumar with this context having been laid out, where Kumar is going to now explain to us from the technical standpoint across network architectures, how we can develop cybersecurity solutions. Over to you, Kumar.
Thank you, Praveen, for the introduction. And yeah, as Praveen said, yeah, it is typical to start with knowing a network architecture. So if you look at this is a typical diagram for a customer's network architecture. So they will definitely have a internal server segment. They will have a storage segment, which will be again firewalled, and it will be the secured zone. They will have a laptop and desktop or internal user segment. And you will typically have a remote users, cloud workloads, and of course an external segment or a DMC to communicate to the external world. So today we are going to talk about how to protect the entire segment. So in the end, what will happen is we will have a design to protect this complete infrastructure. So we're going to start with the most common security challenges. So if you look at it, the common security challenges are OS and application vulnerabilities, advanced persistent threats, malware, zero-day threats, ransomware, everyone should be aware of it by now, data leakage, application control, and it is always difficult to know what's happening on the end user machine, right? So end user machine visibility and phishing attacks, of course. Most common means of an attack is phishing. Emails are still the vulnerable ones. User behavior visibility, uncontrolled internet access, because if you do not have control over the internet access, you do not know what they are going to download accidentally, not unintentionally, basically. Lack of email protection. So these are the most common security challenges, which is applicable to everybody, even in their personal life, as well as the organizations. So again, we are going back to the same diagram. So now to address the most common solution. So we are going to start with the internal user segment. So what are the solutions which are available to protect the internal user segment? Endpoint protection. Endpoint protection is your standard ones. There are endpoint protection which comes with antivirus, advanced antivirus and anti-malware scanning capabilities, detection and prevention protection capabilities. There are they also come with they are a suite of a host-based firewall, host-based intrusion protection system. They also have application control and device control as part of it. But gone are the days where only endpoint protection is enough. We need to look at EDR capabilities, which is called endpoint detection and response capabilities. When endpoint detection response complements an EPP solution, that's when you get real protection against the latest threats. like advanced persistent threat, ransomware. So all these threats are a system gets infected even if they have APP on them. So that is where you need EDR, because EDR works on a different scale. It will try to understand the behavior of the system, and when an abnormal behavior is detected, it is going to protect the system. That is where EDR comes into play. So you need to have endpoint protection along with EDR. So the next thing is against data exfiltration, right? Data leakage prevention, data loss prevention. So you need to have a proper DLP solution. And along with that, you need to have mobile device management to protect the mobile devices in your organization. Machine monitor, which is going to monitor your machines for what's happening on them. You get better visibility using the machine monitor systems. BAOD systems are going to allow you what you are supposed to do, how we are going to do. Like, for example, if you have a NAC in your environment, it's going to protect against a BAOD system connected to the network. And if you are using a BAOD, you need to have proper MDM solutions in place to protect the device or the data which goes inside the device. User behavior monitor. One more thing which is very important is when there is an abnormal user behavior, you need to detect and prevent that activity. So these are some of the things which are needed to protect the internal user segment. Coupled with, do you remember we spoke of uncontrolled internet traffic? So that is where this web security comes into play. So the web security which popped up just now, so that will be the next solution to protect your internet-based traffic. You have better control. These days, web security solutions comes with threat intelligence. You have advanced capabilities. You have reputation-based site blocking. So if there is some site's reputation has gone down, it's going to automatically block it. Those are the capabilities of a web security solution. And web isolation. So what is the difference between web security and web apps isolation is? These are solutions wherein you are going to execute the workload in an isolated environment so that your system does not get infected. So this is a solution which is available. And the other thing which we spoke of earlier with respect to common challenges is vulnerability management, right? So OS and application vulnerabilities. So how should I put it? If we only concentrate on OS vulnerabilities, we are missing a big chunk of things which has to be protected. An application server will only be called an application server after we install the application. If we have only a bare metal system, it's nothing. On top of it, we'll put a OS, still it is not critical. But based on the application which runs on the system, it becomes critical. So vulnerability management should cover both, all possible levels, basically, OS and application levels. So now we are going to talk about common network security challenges an organization would face. Access control for remote users. That is protecting remote users or preventing unauthorized remote users in general. Posture assessment for remote user devices. How do you check what is happening on the remote user device? Whether we can allow that device to connect into the network. Lack of visibility into internal encrypted traffic. So what would happen in this scenario is if a malware is infected, if you have a system which is infected by a malware, the system will try to propagate and affect other systems, sometimes over an encrypted channel. So what would happen is if you don't have visibility into what is being sent to another system, you cannot protect that particular malware. There might be some network device security devices in your organization which can prevent or protect that malware, even if you have a network sandbox, for example. But if you do not have a visibility into the encrypted traffic, you cannot protect them. So that is where this becomes a challenge. Yeah. Lateral movement of malware, that is the another challenge. BAOD, many BAOD devices will come into your network. That is a challenge in itself. Network access control. Who can connect what into your network? Because it should not be like a cable is there, I just need to connect my cable and it gets connected. There will be so many meeting rooms which have Ethernet cables available. If a hacker comes into the environment bypassing the physical security, if he is allowed to connect his laptop to the network, everything is gone. So these are the challenges when it comes to network. So on top of what we have already seen, now we are going to talk about how we can protect. The first control is network access control. These are solutions which is going to perform a posture check to know whether your computer or a system is authorized to connect to your network, and only then they will allow you to connect to the network. SSL decryption are the tools which will do the decryption, and then from SSL decryption you can connect to DLP, you can connect to Sandbox, any such solutions for that matter, to investigate the internal encrypted traffic. This way, coupled with your next generation firewalls, you can also prevent lateral movement of a malware. So these are the benefits of having these two solutions in play, so that to protect your organization against the common network challenges. The third thing which we are going to talk about is the VPN concept. So if you're in a hotspot, if you're in an airport, for example, or a coffee shop, and you connect to encrypted sites, there are very good chances that somebody can do a man in the middle attack. That means they can supply a hotspot in the same name and you'll get connected. And if you do not connect over a secure channel, and if you do not look at the basic things as in whether there's the padlock on top of it, when the sites which you visit, it'll become a problem. So the same thing could happen if they are trying to, if you have published an internal website, as in a company website, to an external world, thinking that HTTPS would be enough. A simple oversight or overlook of a certain padlock can result in a credential disclosure. So how to prevent that, even in an environment wherein you connect to a public Wi-Fi, which is available to everybody? How to prevent that? So the option is the VPN. So what happens is, when it comes to the VPN part of it, you will first establish a VPN connectivity, and only within the VPN connectivity you'll be allowed to connect to the corporate environment or the websites, sensitive websites which are available within the organization. You will not directly expose it to the public. So that's one of the important thing. Apart from that, let's say you have your remote users taking their laptop when they're not connected to office network. So you have a web security within the office to prevent web security and email security, for example, within the office, to prevent uncontrolled internet access. But what would happen if they are outside in a Wi-Fi network? Sorry, in an airport hotspot. If you do not have control over it, what will happen is, there is a chance that their laptop will get infected, and when they come and connect it back to the office, there is a chance that they will infect other computers. And this is the modus operandi of many of the outbreaks which has happened in the past. So how do you do that? So if you route all the internet traffic via your internal corporate firewall and then via your web proxy, it's going to put a pressure on your firewall as well as the proxy, which is not necessary. So what we can do is we can use something called a hybrid protection, wherein for your internal environment, you will use your proxy, which is there in the environment. And for your external users, you will also use cloud proxy. So whenever the laptop is within the office, it will connect within via your internal proxy. And whenever the laptop is outside your network, it will connect to a cloud proxy, wherein you will have absolute control on the internet traffic from that particular device, which your users, from a corporate laptop which you have given to your users. So this is the benefit of having a cloud proxy. Yeah. The next one we are going to talk about is common external security challenges. So these are the most common things. So whenever you publish a website, you have to publish a website for, let's say for example, an e-commerce website. If it is not available to everybody in the public, they cannot do the shopping. So to do that, you will have to publish the website, but what will happen in turn? There will be attack on internet facing services. And there are always everyone's trying to affect the cloud workload. So there are attacks on cloud workloads, which you have in the cloud. There will be DDoS attacks, and there are web application attacks. For example, OWASP top 10 attacks, SQL injection, or any type of injection against your web applications. So these are common security challenges when it comes to external facing infrastructure. So how do you protect them? So we have covered common security challenges, then network security challenges. Now we are going to talk about external infrastructure. So that's where this web application firewall comes in. Against an external web server, you place a web application firewall to protect your external web server. And if you ask me, that is not enough. You should also do penetration testing for any external facing site. You should not depend only on a solution. If possible, you need to fix the code. Web application firewall will be an add-on on top of it from a protection layer. And the next one which pops up is anti-DDoS protection. So what an anti-DDoS does is, so since we spoke of the DDoS attack, so it is going to protect against a distributed denial service of attack. So DDoS attacks are main purpose is to remove the availability or to affect the availability of a particular website or an organization's capabilities. So anti-DDoS systems are in play. They are going to help you to protect against any DDoS attacks. So these systems protects you. The next thing which we are for your internal environment, the next thing which we are going to talk about is your cloud workload. How do you protect? What are the protections available for a cloud workload? So if you think of a cloud workload, there are three types of services available in the cloud. Which is infrastructure as a service, where you get a complete infrastructure and you have more privileges to govern the entire environment. So that is what a cloud workload is all about, right? So one is infrastructure as a service. So wherein you get complete governance, even though it is not your infrastructure, but you're going to get a service infrastructure as a service. Even though it is cloud workload, you have better governance over it. So that is where your CSPM will come into play. So which will take care of cloud. It's nothing but cloud security posture management. These environments is going to talk about, these tools are going to help with your IaaS environment, which is infrastructure as a service. The next one is platform as a service when it comes to cloud. And with platform as a service, you have a little bit more limitation, but still you can govern the environment. You can have the security solutions which are going to be there. So this is where your CWPP, cloud workload protection platforms, are going to come into play. They will protect the workload itself on the cloud. So that is the main benefit of it. The third most common one. So if you have heard of Office 365 for that matter. So how do you protect Office 365 or Oracle Cloud HRMS solution, which you got from cloud, or Salesforce for that instance? So how do you protect? These are services which are available. You don't have any privilege with respect to governance because the entire infrastructure and platform is managed by the customer. But how will you prevent access to this platform? How will you prevent? There are many such ways. One such way is cloud access security broker, which is called CASB. So this is a protection available for your SaaS platforms, SaaS, software as a service platforms. So if you have a cloud, it gives you visibility. It'll have a protection against data leakage and many other things when it comes to cloud SaaS protection part of it. CASB is the choice. And since everybody is moving to cloud due to the current situation, so we need to look more about the cloud protection as well. So it is gone are the days wherein you protect it with web application firewall within your internal environment, web security, and other things. You need to now also look at cloud as another as an extension of your infrastructure, and you should start protecting it as well. You should not depend only on the service provider's protection. You need to go beyond that, and we need to include solutions that are available to protect your cloud environment or cloud workloads. So the last one we are going to talk for the day is data center security challenges. It is your data center or the cloud data center. Let's put it that way. So cloud data center, the owner of the cloud data center, they'll face these challenges. These are common for any data center. So one of the challenges is controlling user access to a shared folder which are available. The main thing is privileged account governance. So if you get hold of a privileged account in an environment, which means that you got hold of the environment. For example, everything, let's say most of the organizations will have centralized authentication mechanism. and all their environments will be connected to an AD. And you find a way to grab hold of an enterprise admin of an AD, which means that you have access to all the systems in the environment. So that is the importance of getting privileged account governance. So if you don't have control over privileged accounts, you're going to lose control of everything, irrespective of the security you have in place. So one of the main thing is this. Of course, along with that, if you don't have a control over the vulnerabilities in an environment, you're going to lose even the authentication can be bypassed. So so we need to also ensure that vulnerabilities are managed. That's the reason why it was part of the common security challenges. And there is always this concern. So Windows systems always have something or the other security solutions available for them. But when it comes to Linux and other systems, which are not most common, they did not get the right level of attention. That's what I would say. But these days, it's not the case. Everyone's getting it, and you need to have the right solutions even to protect the non-Windows systems in an organization. The next one everybody talks about is how to control the east-west traffic within an enterprise network. This is what we are talking about lateral movements when we spoke of. So if a server gets infected, it should design should be in such a way that it is not allowed to infect other systems which it does not even have to connect to. So this will happen if you only have a flat network. So try not to have a flat network. Segregate the environments. You need to have a highly secure environment for your critical infrastructure, such as the database. Application layer should be in a separate tier. Web layer should be in a DMZ tier. So these are going to help you to control the traffic, and you can also control PCI and non-PCI environment, isolate them via firewalls. That, and you should also definitely control your production and non-production environments, since usually production environments will are highly critical, and then non-production environments, they should be a clear gap or a Chinese wall in play, so that you know what is allowed and what is not allowed. Controlling the access, data theft, and compliance control to structured and unstructured data. This is very important. This is another challenge. So if you have a structured data, it is always easy to control. And what about the unstructured data, which is also critical, right? So there are solutions available. We'll also discuss that. Data leakage and zero-day malware that targets internal storage environment. So this is very important as well. So this is a data center security challenge. Application control and holistic visibility. If you're running a 1,000 servers in your environment, how do you know what is allowed in that service or not? So that is what we are going to talk about. And how will you get a holistic visibility capabilities? This is also very important when it comes to the security challenges related to data center. So here we are going to talk about that. So previously we have already covered email security, vulnerability management, web application firewall to protect your web server, web isolation to protect internet. Before a person clicks on a link which connects to a website, it's going to isolate it and it's going to check whether the website is clean. We spoke of web security, importance of web security, internal and also cloud-based proxy. We spoke of anti-DDoS. We spoke of how to decrypt the traffic, to investigate the traffic via SSL decryption. We spoke of NAC, which is network access control, to prevent unauthorized devices from connecting to the network. So we spoke of internal user segment, and we also spoke of how to protect cloud workload. Now we are going to speak of data center security. First thing which popped up is database access monitoring. What is database access monitoring is going to do is it is going to monitor all traffic, all request traffic to the database. Whatever which is being pulled out, it is going to look at it. It's going to see what has happened in the past, what is happening now. It is also going to have a behavior analysis over it, and it is going to alert on any such activity which is not usual. The second one is without virtualization, we are nowhere right now. So cloud is a virtualized environment. Even for internal environments, you no longer have to have work with physical environments. It is no longer efficient to work with physical servers. So you will one way or the other gone for virtualization. And with regard to virtualization, there are a lot of constraints. How do you have antivirus for all your virtualized environments? So if you're going to run the same component across all your virtualized environment, it's going to affect the performance of the virtual environment. So that is where virtualization security plays. It gets connected to the host of the virtual environment to protect all the guests in the virtual environment. Next, the data center security. It works in conjunction with virtualization security. You will have application control in play, file integrity monitoring, host-based intrusion protection system, antivirus with EDR capabilities. So these are some of the solutions which is going to protect your data center, which is your crown jewel, which has to be protected. And as I said earlier, we spoke of privileged accounts. So that is where privileged account management is going to help. So privileged account management, what it does. So you will name all the privileged accounts. You will know what are the privileged accounts, and then you will connect those privileged accounts to your privileged account management solution, and it is going to manage them. When I say manage, what it is going to do is, in other words, it's going to recycle the passwords. It's going to, based on the configuration, every time somebody needs an access to a server, they will log into a PAM solution, and then they will connect to the servers. So please know that how it is going to work is, user A is going to access, let's say, the application server, which is mentioned here. What a user A will do is, he will use his own credentials, which he uses to connect to his laptops and desktops. He is going to connect and log into a PAM solution. In the PAM solution, there will be a workflow, an authorization workflow, which is going to tell whether this particular user is allowed to connect to that application server or not. And then in the PAM solution, there are multiple options available. One such option which I'm a fan of is connect directly from the PAM solution to the application server. We will not even give the credential to the end user. So the PAM solution will connect to an application server, and he can also be connected as an administrator. The PAM, now you can have restrictions on PAM for this account. You can say certain things are allowed, certain things are not allowed. These are actions are allowed only during a certain time period, and the user is not allowed to log into the server after hours. Or if there is a requirement, if there is an emergency wherein he has to allow, you can have something called a break glass function. All those functions combined, you can connect to the application server. And the best part is the credential which is going to use to connect to the actual application server is not known to the end user. Let's say, for instance, the end user connects to the application server and he's an administrator now. He can change the password of the account. But what the PAM has a capability as an intelligence built in, what it will do is it will try to reset the password, and then if it fails, it is going to try to use another account to reset the same password and also alert at the same time saying that somebody has changed the password, did something which they are not supposed to do. So that way we will know who has done what, and it is going to be tagged to that particular account. Even if you use a common service account to connect to the server, the session will be tagged to that particular user. And you can also do monitoring, and you can also block. You can get visibility when it comes to the security teams. So privilege access management is going to help you when it comes to a user GUI level access, and it is not limited only to Windows RDP. You can now have access to your websites via this. You can have access to your internal portals. You can have access to your SSH connectivity on a Linux environment, and you will have complete control over what can be done within the SSH connection. Sorry. So, and apart from that, another thing which I really like about PAM is this. It can also manage your service accounts. Let's say they have a connector and you have an application. It is going to use a service account to connect to the database. So if this particular service account gets compromised, which means that that particular credential is known, and if someone else is going to use that particular credential, he gets the same privilege of the run of an application. It might be a very high privilege when it comes to the application to database connectivity, because usually in application you will have an option to create, delete, alter, and anything on that particular database. So how to manage this particular credential? It's kind of a super account again. So that is where PAM will come to the rescue. What it can do is, it can also jump in and say, it can take over the service account, and in the application layer you will say, when a service account required, you need to contact the PAM service which is running, and the PAM service will inject the credential on the fly, and it will allow you to connect to the application servers. So that's what the PAM service is going to do. This is where a PAM will help an organization even to remove the static service account credentials. So that's going to safeguard a lot of things when it comes to that. A proper implementation of a PAM solution is going to safeguard against privilege account misuse. So that's the main thing about this PAM. And it can also go change the password whenever it's needed. And it will also, you don't have to worry about password changes. You might know that service accounts generally are set to never expire, or they expire very late when it comes to, when you compare it with other user account passwords. So all those things you don't have to worry about it. PAM will take care of recycling of password and injecting password on the fly. So there you go, and you will have better security without any service disruption. That's the benefit of a PAM. And on all of this, the next thing is going to be SIEM. You will connect all this environment to SIEM, and SIEMs these days come with another thing called user entity and behavior analysis, UEBA. So what it does is, so SIM is going to collect logs, it's going to do some analysis, and UEBA will jump in and it will also do additional analysis to identify anything which is abnormal from the usual. And it is going to protect against, it is going to raise alarms, it's going to protect, and coupled with SOAR solutions, you are armed with all the security capabilities you need for to protect against most common threats which are there in the which are again threats that attack or that would reach an organization basically. So that's more or less it. And in the next a few slides, we are going to talk about how the integration will do, what we can do from an Ingram Micro perspective when it comes to cybersecurity solution design. This is one such design we would recommend. What we are doing is, we are talking about enhanced data exfiltration protection using multi-vendor architecture. So how we are going to protect against data exfiltration using certain components. Here, if you look at it, we have an SIEM component, SOAR component, database activity monitoring, a data loss prevention solution, next generation firewall, and Active Directory. If you look at the arrows with one on them, they are going to send all the logs to a common place so that analysis can be done against those logs. In the number two is nothing but the SIEM and SOAR stage, wherein there will be an investigation which will happen. And whenever there is a problem detected, there will be an immediate response to it. There will be an auto block command which will be sent to block any malicious IPs from which this traffic is initiated using next generation firewall. Okay, and at the same time, let's say the IP is blocked. What happens if the same user is trying to log in from a different computer? So we logged one IP. Now we need to log another IP. That is going to be a never-ending story. But we can still do it because it's an automatic solution. But instead, what we can do is we will go ahead and disable this account automatically in the Active Directory immediately. So that way, he will not be able to even log into the system, even if he tries from another IP, which was already blocked, or which is not blocked yet, for that matter. So these are some of the benefits of integrating different systems rather than allowing them to work in silos. And that is where we come in. We try to find ways to integrate different solutions and make better use of your existing systems. That's basically what we are trying to do, and to have an enhanced protection for your environment. So benefits of this particular solution, what you see here is automated threat detection and response, malicious insider who is already available in the environment, you can detect them and respond to them. Data exfiltration attempts can be detected and responded as in protected, prevented from that happening. The last one is if there is an existing threat in your environment, you will be, as soon as the setup is complete, in matter of days, as soon as the entity or the setup learns about your environment, it'll be able to find out anything which is already there and hidden. So we will also be able to find that. So this is one such solution. This is related to advanced threat protection, as in advanced persistent threat protection, let's put it that way. So advanced persistent threat, they usually circumvent the traditional detection. So we need to depend on certain things like threat intelligence programs. So what we have done is we will connect your SIM and SOAR capabilities to your threat intelligence platform, which is available. There are open source threat intelligence. There are threat intelligence which is available along with product, and we will use the threat intelligence information, and we will keep monitoring in our perimeter firewall whenever there is a traffic which goes to a command and control center IP, which is part of the threat intelligence framework. And as soon as there is a relation available between the logs from next gen firewall and the threat intelligence feeds, we are going to correlate and we are going to find out from which IP this particular traffic is being allowed. And as soon as threat intelligence says, okay, this is a command and control center IP, automatically we will go and first protect in our perimeter firewall. We'll block that particular IP, we'll create a rule and block it, block any traffic. And secondly, if there is a system which is infected and it is trying to connect to that particular IP, even though we blocked it, we need to take the next action. The next action would be disable the breached account, because there is a breached account, there is an account using which it is going to happen, it is happening. So we will go ahead and disable the breach account. And apart from that, we can do a lot more use cases wherein we can also automatically isolate and do multiple other things by combining your EDR solutions as such. But this is a high level design for in the interest of today's time. So what we are achieving using this is you have better detection and respond, and you even respond to a command and control IPs automatically. Even if your environment is not affected, you proactively using the threat intelligence feeds, you are blocking that particular connectivity, any connectivity which might happen in the future to that particular IP. And you will be able to identify any breached accounts which tries to connect to that IP, and it is going to have an automated threat detection and response. And of course, if there is already any hidden threats which is trying to connect, as soon as we have information from a threat intelligence field, we will be able to correlate and find out what is happening, and we'll be able to take action on them. So this is what we can do when it comes to combining different solutions and leveraging their capabilities. And the downside of secure solutions is a company, an organization, they will buy all solutions which are available, but they will not use it to their capabilities. So that is something we need to avoid. We should not underutilize the solutions. We should have an optimal utilization of the solutions that are available to us. So that is more or less it. When it comes to solutions, now we are talking about the vendors which are available. What are the solutions which we spoke of? These are some sample vendors just to get an idea for you. There are more such vendors. For instance, everybody knows about McAfee, Kaspersky, Broadcom. When it comes to endpoint protection, Sophos, for instance, and many other solutions are available. When it comes to DLP, ForcePoint is there, Broadcom is there. EDR and ATP, FireEye. When it comes to FireEye, it's very good. EDR capabilities are clubbed into Kaspersky these days. Microsoft ATP also comes with an EDR, Broadcom as such. And when it comes to DNSSEC, you can work with OpenDNS or any such vendor who is available. File and folder encryption, Broadcom can do it for us when it comes to folder encryption. McAfee, and Micro Focus for full HDD encryption. Okay, so endpoint performance monitors, these are very important. So there is next thing which will give you a complete overview of what's happening in your environment on the laptops, on the user workstations. Progress has solutions, for instance, WhatsApp Gold, which can monitor your network and servers. So those are very important. It can be helpful to monitor your environment. Endpoint vulnerability scanning, Broadcom has such. Mail security solutions, there are a lot of mail security solutions that are available. And MDM, EMM, so there are a lot of solutions which are available when it comes to mobile device management. For instance, VMware has AirWatch and other things, as well as IBM. Endpoint forensic investigation, this is useful after a breach, wherein FireEye, Nuix, and other solutions that are available in the market can help you with that. For instance, web gateways, we have web security gateways, Broadcom, FireEye. For network APTs, or these are, as I said earlier, EDR also protects against APTs. Same thing applies for network APTs. We have many such solutions that are available. Secure VPN, yes, and Cisco Connect. As do you remember how we can protect certain things when it comes to network-based attacks? Secure VPN is one of them. Network performance monitors, Cisco Stealth Watch is going to assist you with that. And SSL visibility, you get SSL visibility out of Broadcom for the our A10, for instance, to get a look at in the internal traffic. Network forensic, Broadcom is available. NAC solutions, there are Cisco IS, there are Aruba ClearPass solutions which are available to protect against or control network access. Two-factor authentication solutions, there are multiple solutions which are available, and Broadcom has one. These are the DMZ protections which are available when it comes to DDoS, WAF, next generation firewall. These are solutions, some of the solutions which are part of our portfolio. Security for Office 365. You have it from Microsoft itself, Kaspersky, Broadcom, McAfee, ForcePoint, and more. SaaS DAST applications. So these are the applications, for instance, Fortify. IBM AppScan is sold to HCL, but Fortify is still there, which can be used to do an app scan to know code reviews and other things. Cloud access security brokers or security providers, or from you have it from ForcePoint and Broadcom, which is going to whatever that we discussed earlier. These are some of the vendors. And when it comes to data center security, we have a lot of vendors again. Broadcom, McAfee. Broadcom has virtualization security. McAfee has one. Database security is there in IBM. DLP for servers is there with ForcePoint and Broadcom. And identity and access management along with PAM is available with Quest, IBM. Managed file transfers, very important thing in this day and age. Progress has one. SIM solutions, Micro Focus, Oxide, IBM Curator, Alien Vault, all those solutions are available. Anti-malware for shared folders, FireEye. There are many such solutions, for instance, within our portfolio. Please do reach out to us for anything related to that. And with that, we are done with today's session. As Praveen said, I'll give you the last 10 minutes. I tried to give you the last 10 minutes. I moved as fast as I could for the question and answer session. But yeah, we have 9 more minutes left. So I'm open for any questions.
Thank you so much, Kumar. That was an amazing session and very detailed and insightful. I really hope everybody enjoyed the session, and there was a lot of knowledge built into those slides. So I hope you were able to gain from the knowledge as well that was shared by Kumar. So yeah, it's time for questions. I'm looking at the chat and I haven't really seen any questions yet. But cybersecurity is a complex subject. I'm sure it's not like we can understand everything 100% at the first go. So I'm sure you should have some questions. Please feel free, type them away. or you can even unmute yourself if you have any questions.